Good morning, students. Let's continue our history lesson 7, anti-colonial movements and the birth of nationalism. Just recall what we learned. The Battle of Plassey took place in 1757 between Robert Clive and Sirajuddaula. Then after this Battle of Plassey, the English East India Company became the rulers of India. When they became the rulers, they increased the tax system for the agriculture land, and this led to peasant uprising under the Farazi movement in 1818 and Wahhabi rebellion in 1827. And not only that, we have tribal uprising that took place in 1831 to 32 as Coal Revolt, and 1855 we have Shantal Cools led by the protest under the head of Sidhu and Kanu. Then Munda people of Ranchi known as Ulugulan rebellion led by Birsa Munda. To suppress the revolt, British used their forces and formulated the Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act in 1908 to protect the tribal people. Chota Nagpur Tenancy Act in 1908. Now we'll move on into the Great Rebellion of 1857. What are the causes and what is the causes of the revolt, and the Indigo and Deccan Revolt. We'll see one by one. In 1857, initially it began as a mutiny of Bengal Presidency Chipais, but later expanded to other parts of India involving large number of civilians, especially peasants. Actually, it was started from the Chipais and it was spread to the civilians as well as from peasants. That is the Great Rebellion. Why we are calling this as a Great Rebellion? Because of the following reasons. This was the first major revolt of armed forces accompanied by civil rebellion because people used armed forces. Then second reason, the revolt witnessed unprecedented violence perpetrated by both sides. That is, the unexpected violence made by both the Chipais and the British. The revolt ended the rule of East India Company and the governance of the Indian subcontinent was taken over by the British Crown. After the revolt was over, the British government recalled all the Indian governors to British. So these are the reason why we are calling this incident between 1857-58 as a Great Rebellion. Now we'll see what are the causes. First one, annexation policy of British India. In 1845 and 50s, more territories were annexed through two major policies made by the British. The first one is the doctrine of paramountcy. The doctrine of paramountcy. Here doctrine means principle, paramountcy, high authority. That is, the British claimed themselves as paramount, exercising supreme authority. New territories were annexed on the grounds that the native rulers were inept. So due to incompetent Indian rulers, the British, they occupy more territories in India, and in that way they show that paramountcy over the Indians. That is the first reason. Then second one is the doctrine of lapse. Doctrine of lapse. That is, if a native ruler did not have male heir to the throne, the territory was to lapse into British India upon the death of the ruler. That is, if an Indian ruler, he don't have a boy child as a ruler to the throne, the territory was lapsed into the British. Under the doctrine of lapse, only the boy child have the right to the throne. Suppose if the ruler they don't have a boy child, automatically the territory was given to the British. Under the doctrine of lapse, Satara, Sambalpur, parts of Punjab, Jhansi and Nagpur were annexed by the British through the doctrine of lapse. So majority parts of North India were annexed by the British under the doctrine of lapse. The second cause is about insensitivity to Indian cultural sentiments. In 1806, the Chipais at Vellore mutinied against the new dress code, which prohibited Indians from wearing religious marks on their forehead. So this made insensitivity to Indian culture because they were not prohibited, they were not permitted to wear any religious mark on their forehead. And not only in the Vellore mutiny alone, and same thing happened in 1824 at Barakpur and near Calcutta. Because the Chipais, they were prohibited to wear religious marks as well as they were forced to use a common dress code, and this made insensitivity to Indian cultural sentiments of our Indian Chipais. Now we'll see the causes of the revolt. The precursor to the revolt was the circulation of rumors about the cartridges of the new Enfield rifle. There was a strong suspicion that a new cartridge had been greased with cow and pig fat. That is the forerunner for the revolt, as there is a circulation of rumor about the cartridges used by the Indian soldiers, because the British they introduced a new Enfield rifle. So in that they use a new cartridge, so they want to use a grease for that, and that grease is made of cow and pig fat. So here the Hindu people they consider cow as a sacred animal, that is a holy animal for them, and the pig is considered to forbidden to the Muslim, that is they dislike this pig. So this made a religious sentiments of the people of Indian soldiers. That is the first reason for the revolt, that is the new Enfield rifle, they used a cartridge, and this created a problem among the soldiers. On March 29, a Chipai named Mangal Pandey assaulted his European officers. His fellow soldiers refused to arrest him when ordered to do so. Mangal Pandey along with others were court-martialed and hanged. So on the day of 29th March, Indian Chipai named Mangal Pandey, he shot his European British officer, and the other soldiers they refused to arrest him, and then later the British they captured this Mangal Pandey and they hand over to death. That is about the first incident of 29th March under the Great Revolt. After the Mangal Pandey's incident, then on 11th May 1857, another band of Chipais from Meerut marched to the Red Fort in Delhi. So the first incident took place in Bengal region, and second it was started in Meerut region. Then along with Chipais, many common people were also gathered, and they asked the Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah II to become their leader. After much hesitation, he accepted an offer and was proclaimed as the Shah-in-Shah Hindustan. Shah-in-Shah Hindustan, that is Emperor of Hindustan. That is the people and the Chipais of Meerut, they forced Bahadur Shah to become the ruler for them. And not only that alone, after that, the same mutiny, it was spread to other parts of northern India, especially in Punjab and Bengal. That is the causes of the war. So here it was started by Mangal Pandey of Bengal region, and it was continued by the 1857 May 11th in Meerut, and they made Bahadur Shah II as a Shah-in-Shah of Hindustan. The mutiny was equally supported by an aggrieved rural society of North India. That is, the rural people, the agriculture people also supported this mutiny because Chipais working in the British army were in fact peasants in uniform, because once they were the peasants, then under the British they became the soldiers of Indian army. So this rebellion became a civil rebellion. The first civil rebellion broke out in parts of northwestern provinces and Oudh. A large number of zamindars and talukdars were also attracted to the rebellion, as they had lost their various privileges under the British government. Here, the Indian zamindars and talukdars means those who control the territories, were also joined with this rebellions because they lost their privileges under the British government. Under the civil rebellion, not only the talukdars and zamindars, and here we have artisans and handicraft persons who were equally affected by the dethroning of rulers of many Indian states were also joined. That is, artisans and handicraft people, because they were affected by the British rule, because they bought British goods to India. So this people also joined along with the civil rebellion. Then the dumping of British manufacturer ruined the Indian handicrafts and thrown thousands of weavers out of employment. Collective anger against the British took the form of people's revolt. So not only this alone, here the British, they introduced new industrial goods to India. So here the Indian handicraft people, they lost their job. So they became unemployed. So they have all this collective anger against the British took the form of people's revolt. Actually, the Great Rebellion, it was started in 1857 March 29. It was started by Mangal Pandey, a Chipai under the British army, and later it was spread to Meerut in May 1857, and now it became a civil rebellion. So first, in the beginning, the agriculture people, they joined, the zamindars, the talukdar, artisans, handicraft people and weavers. So totally majority of Indian people, they joined with the civil rebellion to fight against the British. That's why we are calling the Great Rebellion as a civil rebellion. Now we'll see who were the prominent fighters against the British. So during the Great Revolt, here it provided a platform to aggrieved kings, nawabs, queens and zamindars. So not only the common people and zamindars, along with that many kings and nawabs were also joined. Under that we have Nana Sahib, the adopted son of the last Peshwa Bajirao, Begum Azarat Mahal in Lucknow, and Khan Bahadur in Bareilly, and Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi. So they were the prominent leaders who fought against the British during the Great Rebellion. When the mutiny was supported by the common people, the kings and nawabs and queens, the British started to suppress the rebellion by June 1857. The Delhi, Meerut, Rohilland, Agra, Allahabad and Banaras divisions of the army had been restored to the British control and placed under martial law. So the places of Delhi, Meerut, Rohilland, Agra, Allahabad and Banaras were under the control of British army. So that's the meaning of martial law. Now we'll see what are the causes of failure of the revolt. Even though it was started as a big revolt, become many reasons for the failures. First one, there was a general lack of enthusiasm among the Indian princes to participate in the rebellion. So here the first thing is there is lack of enthusiasm, that is lack of interest among the Indian princes to participate in the rebellion. The emerging English educated middle class too did not support the rebellion. So those who are educated people, they didn't support this rebellion. Then the third reason is the absence of central authority. There is no any central power to direct this rebellion. The last reason is the rebel leaders were defeated due to lack of weapons, organization, discipline, and betrayal by their aides. So here the leaders, they didn't get support from the other rulers of other part of India, and they are lack of using weapons. So these are the reason why the revolt is considered as a failure for Indian people. After the suppression of this great rebellion here, the British followed a cautious approach to the issue of social reform. Queen Victoria proclaimed to the Indian people that the British would not interfere in traditional institutions and religious matters. It was promised that Indians would be absorbed in government services. So after the revolt was suppressed by the British, here they made some changes in the administration. Under that, here Queen Victoria proclamation, that is, she made an announcement to the Indian people, that is, British would not interfere in the traditional matters and religious matters of the people. And not only that alone, the British Parliament adopted the Indian Government Act in November 1858. Indian Government Act in 1857. An act was made in the British Parliament after this great revolt. So these are the changes in administration. And not only that alone, we have another things also. The change in administration, the British took two significant changes made in the Indian army. That is, the number of Indians were significantly reduced from the army, and then the British took control of the artillery and shifted the recruiting effort. Artillery means they took control of all weapons. Then the British also exploited the caste, religious, linguistic and regional differences in Indian society through what came to be known as divide and rule policy. Here, based on the British, they exploited the Indian people based on caste, religion, linguistic, that is based on our language, and region wise they divided the people, and they follow a new rule called divide and rule policy. So later we'll see about divide and rule policy. The next topic is about peasant revolts under crown. That is, what are the revolts by the peasants? First one is about indigo revolt in 1859 to 60. So indigo, it is a agriculture crop which is used to dye the cloth. During that days, it is more valuable in the world countries. So here the British, they forced the Indians to grow indigo, and which was processed into dye at the planters' factories. So in the same land itself, they made that crop into a product. And not only that, the peasants were forced to grow the crop by the British. The planters pay the cultivators low price for their indigo. So here the British, they pay only low prices for them. Actually, it was very costly in the world market. British, they paid low prices for the indigo, so that the small amount they earned was not enough to pay back the cash advance with interest. So they fell into debt. So for their yearly cultivation, they get loan from the British. So what they earned is not enough to pay back the interest. The peasants again would be forced to enter into another contract to grow indigo. The peasants were never able to clear their debits. Debits were often passed from father to son. So continuously from generation to generation, the British, they forced the peasants to cultivate the indigo. So they paid only low cost for them, and this affected the people's life, and so the generation to generation they fall into the debits. When the British, they forced our Indian peasants to cultivate indigo, the people started a revolt. The Indigo Revolt began in 1859. The rebellion began as a strike as the peasants of a village in Bengal's Nadia district refused to grow any more indigo. So in that way they showed their strike. That is, it was started in 1859 in Nadia district of Bengal. The movement quickly spread to the other indigo growing districts of Bengal. The revolt turned into violent. The peasants, both Hindu and Muslims, participated in the revolt. Even women were used their arms and armed with pots and pans fought alongside with men. So here that indigo revolt took place in 1859 at Nadia, and it was spread to other districts. So here people, common people, that is both Hindus and Muslims, they participated in the revolt along with men. Women also participated. They used some pots and pan as their weapon. So, Indian journalists in Calcutta wrote articles about the brutality of the planters. That is how the British suppressed the Indian peasants. In 1860, a play called Neel Darban, that is Mirror of the Indigo, by Dinabandhu Mitra. Dinabandhu Mitra, he wrote a drama. So, which drawn attention in India and Europe to the plight of the indigo growers. Actually, Dinabandhu Mitra, he wrote a drama, and that drama made attention for Indian indigo planters in Europe. That is about the indigo revolt. Indigo as a natural fiber used as a dye for the cloth. So the British, they forced the Indians to cultivate the same indigo for a long time period, and they pay only low prices for their indigo, and this created a trouble. And here the indigo planters, they started a revolt in 1859 in Nadia district in Bengal, and it was spread to other district also. So both men and women and Hindus and Muslims, they fight against the British. And finally, the British, they suppressed the indigo cultivators. Then they suppressed with arms. So that in 1860, Dinabandhu Mitra, he wrote a drama called Neel Darban, and which draw much attention from the Europeans. That is about indigo revolt. The second incident took place in 1875 at Deccan region, that is Deccan region, the southern part of India. So due to heavy taxation that ruined agriculture, that is people are unable to continue their agricultural cultivation, and during that time we have a severe famine. So due to famine means panjam, famine deaths were also increased. Then the first recording incident of rioting against the money lenders in the Deccan. So this was against the money lenders of same Indian money lenders, not the British. It was started on May 1875 in Supa, a village near Pune. Pune, it is a place in Maharashtra. And similar case of riots were reported from close to 30 villages in Pune and Ahmednagar. So that was against the common people and the money lenders. The Deccan riots, the money lenders, they made a new law. Under that, they were allowed to attach the mortgage land of the defaulters and auction it off. That is mortgage. Mortgage means adagu vaikkirathu, nilatha adagu vaikkirathu. Then auction ஏலம் விடுறது. So here, while the farmers, poor farmers, when they mortgage their land, here the money lenders, they made auction it rate of, that is they sell their land, and this resulted in a transfer of lands from the cultivators to the non-cultivating classes, because during the auction here the money lenders, that is the rich people, they buy these lands, so they are the non-cultivating classes, and that they won't cultivate anything from the land. Instead of that, they started constructing something over the agriculture land, and trapped the common people, trapped in the vicious circle of debit and unable to pay the outstanding amount, the peasant was forced to abandon cultivation. So here, due to this auction of the money lenders, here the poor people, they trapped into a vicious circle. Vicious circle means again and again they'll buy a loan from the money lenders, and again they'll mortgage their land, and then they auction it, and that they lose. In that way they lost their lands, so that the peasants were forced to abandon cultivation because they are unable to cultivate. So in that way, a riot was aroused in the Deccan region in 1875. So in today's class, we talked about the Great Rebellion of 1857. Actually, the British introduced two policy, doctrine of paramountcy and doctrine of lapse. So in that way, the British annexed many places in Indian territories, and not only that alone, they introduced Enfield rifle. For that rifle, they used a new cartridge, and they used a cow and pig fat as a grease for them, and that affect the religious sentiment of the people. So here in March 29, Mangal Pandey, he shooted his European officer, and it was considered as the first incident, and then it was spread to Meerut and other parts of India, in the northern part of India. And not only the soldiers alone, the common people, that is the peasants, the kings, nawabs and queens and zamindars also joined along with them. They fight against the British, and then the British, they suppress the rebellion, and then the Queen Victoria, she proclaimed that is, she made an announcement for Indians, and she won't interfere in the religious matters of the people. That is about the Great Rebellion. Then we talked about the Indigo Revolt, that is the indigo farmers of Calcutta region. They started a revolt against the British in 1859, and then we finished with Deccan riots of 1875, that is between the common people and the money lenders of the Deccan region. I hope you understood these things. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Again, I am telling you, you follow these videos properly and prepare yourself for your public exams. Thank you, Ma.